Rachel Maddow is the host of the Rachel Maddow Show every weeknight, 9 p.m. She's here with me. Thanks so much for joining us in studio. Sure. Me in studio. David's on assignment. But I've got to ask you off the top, what does the president need to say? And this has been asked of everyone, but I'm curious your perspective.
I think that he's got to bridge the gap between, as you and Savannah were discussing, his personal popularity and his political troubles. Right now, something like 90% of the American people sort of dig him as a person, as an individual guy. It's not helping him politically. And the way that you help yourself politically, the way that you succeed politically, is by winning, is by passing things, is by having a record of accomplishment. And this president has passed a lot of things, has done a lot of things, but on the big stuff that he knows make a big difference to the American people, healthcare reform, Wall Street reform, a jobs bill, cap and trade, all of those things are in trouble. And all of those things are in trouble for a reason that Barack Obama, the politician, is going to have a very hard time talking about. And that's because his brand is, we're not red state, we're not blue states, we're the United States, we can all get along, there's not so much that divides us. Republican, Democrat, it doesn't matter, we're all Americans. That's his brand, that's the whole hope idea. That does not jibe with why he's not getting things passed. He's not getting things passed because the Republicans are not part of his United States of America at this point. They are saying no. And the kumbaya approach is not going to continue to work to explain this.
He can't have a Jedi moment where he glares in the camera and convinces us that he's on our side, meaning the American people. He's got to work with these folks, the Republicans. We know that, the conservatives, to get anything done at this point, because on face value, the Democrats have not been able to do it together.
But that's right diagnosis, completely wrong prescription. If the president gets up there and says, I'm really hoping for some Republican votes, let's take longer on health care because maybe the Republicans will vote for it. Maybe we'll get some Republicans voting with us on anything else that he's proposing. He's in la-la land. It's not going to happen. And Barack Obama, the candidate, could have inspirationally convinced us that some Republicans would come along and vote with him. Barack Obama, the president, is paying the price for that. The Republicans are not going to vote for anything. Democrats have to do it alone, and Obama has to sell that to the American people.
And you really believe he's going to say that tonight?
If he gets up there and says the hope for America is bipartisanship, you can kiss the rest of his legislative agenda goodbye. Really, it's a question. It's a question of seriousness.
Yeah.
Is this going to be gimmickry? Is this going to be bumper sticker politics? Or do you actually want to get something done? If you want to get something done, you have to explain why Republicans are not going to be part of the solution to their own detriment and the country's.
I want to switch topics real quick and talk to you about what happened, the news that broke out of New Orleans, Louisiana. Some are calling it Louisiana Watergate. I hear there are other names floating around for it as well.
Yes.
But what's going on there? You've got this guy who was praised by conservative James O'Keefe as the next greatest filmmaker of all time. He tried to bring down Acorn. Now he may have brought down himself with his stunt, as may be described by some. But what do you think is going on here?
Well, we don't yet know the motivation. We don't yet know the seriousness of this incident. What we know is that there have been 4 arrests, that the FBI is involved, and we know from a senior law enforcement official talking to the AP that an actual listening device was found. That makes this very serious felony. This puts us in very serious felony territory. How political this crime was versus how just stupid or malicious is going to make the difference as to whether or not this becomes a story that lives on for a very long time.
Whether he was working for or with others.
Or whether this was part of a conservative political agenda. Whether this is, this guy was not just hailed as a hero for what he did on Acorn. He was hailed by the right as the future of journalism.
He was praised by 31 members of Congress in a resolution. None of those members have yet today come out and said, I need to distance myself.
Yeah, this was not just a kid who sort of was a conservative activist who did right. They were praising his methods as being something that ought to supplant the way that journalists actually do work. James O'Keefe is the model we ought to be following rather than the mainstream media, which they deride as being so liberal. Well, now James O'Keefe has gone to prison. He's been arrested. He's gone to jail.
He was 10 years.
He's facing 10 years with the listening device being found. If that turns out to be borne out by the criminal complaint, it may be looking at more than 10 years. And there may be it's an interesting story about this one guy, but it may be a story about political reckoning for conservatives who have elevated him to being such a hero as a way to bash the mainstream media and as a way to elevate those kind of tactics. Let's pay attention to what those tactics really are. In this case, it looks like they're felonies.
Well, it will be incredible if it turns out to be such.
Yeah.
And arrows are certainly pointed in that direction, at least according to some. Thank you very much, Rachel, for coming on. We'll be looking for that aha moment that you pointed out from the president's speech tonight. If he does look for more hope and reaching his hand across the aisle, or if we see the fighter who's ready to pull back and say, let's get something done.